Well, good evening. I would like to call to order the January 14th, 2020 meeting of the school board, and I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, again, thanks for coming tonight. I'd like to read our mission statement, which says roll call. Hey, can't even get one step in the meeting, and this guy's already telling me how to do it. All right. Molly, would you please do the roll call?
Yes.
Thanks.
Severson.
Here.
Larkin.
Here.
Mueller. Palmer.
Here.
Samurai. Here. Lewis. Here.
Can I read the mission statement now? All right,
chair.
cool, all right. Our mission statement here in Columbia Heights Schools is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Like to get the agenda approved, announcements, or get the agenda approved, so I'd like a motion to carry that forward.
So moved.
Molly?
Second.
Laura? So a motion to move the agenda through. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. For announcements this week, we have Monday, January 20th, a district in-service day, no school. On the 21st of January, is a Tuesday, is a grading day, also no school. That evening on the 21st at 5:30 p.m., there'll be a school board work session right here in the community room. On the 28th, Tuesday at 5 p.m., the school board subcommittee on policy will be meeting in the superintendent's conference room. Also on the 28th, which is a Tuesday, right here at 7 o'clock, there'll be a regular school board meeting. On February 11th, Tuesday, which is a Tuesday at 5 p.m., the school board subcommittee on policy will meet again in the superintendent's conference room. And on February 11th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m., there will be another regular school board meeting right here in the community room. Don, is there any correspondence, do you know? No. All right. All right, now's that time where citizens and employee representatives, so at this time, any citizen or employee may briefly ask the school board, briefly address the school board. The board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, which includes the personnel report and the minutes of the December 17th school board meeting and the December 5th joint meeting with the Columbia Heights City Council. So could we have a motion to move that forward?
So move.
Second.
John and Hala, any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. Reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. And because I've been wanting to do this my entire tenure on the board, John Larkin, would you like to go first?
I will say that it was an advantage to go last.
It
because I
was.
pick up all the things.
Right.
Yeah, I did that too, or I did that too. But in my defense, when I came to my turn, I would say, and Laura attended that, or whatever.
You
So
did.
Somebody missed it.
All right,
so-
I'll take notes.
So somebody
All
help me
right.
out.
Okay.
All I have to report is I was, we had the organizational meeting last week, and then I also attended the work session, so
All right.
that's all I got.
Laura?
I also attended the organizational meeting as well as the special meeting last week as well.
All right, Hala?
Yep, I attended the organizational meeting and then the special call meeting that included the tour and then conferences at the high school.
Conferences?
I did.
Would you like
Which
to
you
add
did that too.
conferences? All right, I like this dialogue style reporting. Molly?
You guys are helpful. I appreciate it. I also attended the special call meeting and the organizational meeting last week. I got to hang out with some girls and boys basketball teams, watch the varsity games. They're doing great this year, and attended conferences at the high school. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Much like everyone else, I attended the organizational meeting and a work session. I was able to meet with Superintendent Kelly for quite a long time after the organizational meeting, and she kind of got me up to speed on some things. John has also been very helpful in getting me up to speed and being a good collaborator. And I think I just want to take a minute to say thank you, John, for all those years that you've been chair. I've been the chair for 1 week, and I've already seen it is more work. So I want to say thank you, and I don't know if you guys wanted to add.
Absolutely.
No pressure, but.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
No problem.
Thank you for years of service.
You're welcome, and you'll do a fine job.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and thank you very much also for answering my text at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when you were on vacation down in. You've done that more than one time, and I appreciate that.
No, you're more than welcome. It's been my pleasure.
I also, though, in addition to that, have been to some swim meets, and I think kind of one of the more interesting things that I got to do last week was I went to AMSD, Association of Metropolitan School Districts, and that is a collaborative group of board members and superintendents who come together around certain topics, and they do lobbying, essentially, and create a legislative platform. The two things we talked about were, first, we talked about from the Department of, essentially the DEED, they create jobs, Department of Jobs. And they presented on kind of the job market and how that's looking for kids and the need for the good things that we're doing with Project Lead the Way at the middle school. I'm sure you'll mention that in your talk. But also the second topic they talked about, which I think was more startling, was the subject of vaping. And you should have gotten some of the things from AMSD, but if you haven't taken a look at that, I think I personally didn't realize quite what epidemic sort of level they had gotten to, where they said 6% of adults vape, but in the state of Minnesota, 26% of 11th graders vape. And I was like, whoa. And then how dangerous that is for kids. And so it might be something that you see from me again. I was very interested in hearing more. Talked to Superintendent Kelly a little bit about it, but that was something that came up. So that is my report. All right, we'll move on to Strategic Direction D, securing and effectively managing our resources, human, financial, and physical. Brian.
Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board. Let me get this pulled up here. This evening, I'm flying solo on this. Denise was supposed to be here with me, and we're looking at Strategic Direction D. Again, our mission statement, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, all belong, all succeed. And with each strategic direction, we really focused on all of our core values within these directions: community excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. This is just an informational update, no governance with this presentation. And again, as stated at the beginning, we're talking about our strategic directions, specifically Strategic Direction D, securing and effectively managing our resources. Again, with our operational plan, we have those 4 areas. This was built from input of the community, staff, students, and parents, and really focuses our attention in areas, specific areas, and working with our continuous improvement. And again, this year, we're really talking about our baseline with the new strategic direction measures. There's some things that were just created we don't have data for yet. We're building that data this year. And then there's some measures that we're going back to last year's data and setting this year as our baseline. Some questions or some metrics you've seen before, and some metrics are new. So to start, the first part, we listed in D1 and D1-2 our bond projects, whether our bond projects, where we're at in completion of our bond projects on time and our bond projects within budget. You guys did the tour at our previous meeting, and you know kind of where we're at with the completion. So we're not completed with our bond projects. So it's not something that we can measure on where we were and what projects we completed on time, which projects we didn't, and what % we completed on time, because we're not done yet. And also with the bond projects as far as within budget, because again, we're not complete yet. And we know that some projects end earlier, and like North Park ends later. So, so there'll be data on that on next time we present. I predict this area kind of morphing a little bit into, instead of being so specific with bond projects, but talking about capital projects, the big projects that we have. Just because those obviously continue on. Bond projects are only here for a year or two, depending on your district. It could be more, depending on the size. So now in the next area, we'll start with fund balance. We're at vision with our fund balance. I know you guys are aware of where we're at with our fund balance. We're just over 12%, so we are at vision. It's taken a few years to build that back up. It was getting down, but we are there. Annual variation in established budgets. We have traditionally been either progressing or vision, so we were progressing. So, obviously very happy with that, predicting where our revenues are and what our expenditures are and for the year and having them come in within that variation is a testament to our finance department. Budget alignment, obviously we want to focus our as much funding as possible to the classroom. And then this just is a measure of ensuring that we're doing that. We are just over 65% within these UFARS categories, making sure, again, that our general fund dollars are being applied to the classroom specifically or directly. Quality of facilities and grounds. Almost every year we include questions and surveys that go out to the community that talk about the quality of our facilities and grounds, and also satisfaction with district financial decisions. Those have been long-standing questions within the district. And again, in this area, we've stayed in that progressing and vision. As you can see, we're at vision for quality of facilities and grounds on that survey, and I think the number was 86% for quality of facilities and grounds. And then I'm just going to drop down because they're both kind of related with the survey data and satisfaction with financial decisions. We were at 76%. Positive on financial decisions within the district. And then our operating levy comparisons, we've seen data before in the recent years. We've looked at that as, or you've seen that as other districts have gone out and are, like Fridley, went out for an operating levy just this last year and passed it. They listed us on there. Maybe you haven't seen that information, but something we pay attention to here, and we still remain in the lowest half, close to the lowest quartile as far as our operating levy in our comparison districts. So comparison districts, the traditional that we compare to, like Fridley, our neighbors, Fridley, Spring Lake Park, St. Anthony, Richfield, Brooklyn Center, traditional districts that we compare to when we look at this type of data. So that is all of strategic direction D. And obviously we had a lot of 4s and 5s, so we're sitting at a level 5. So our score is 4.35 out of 5, which puts us at vision for strategic direction D at this point. Any questions?
Observation, this is part of our new strategic plan, therefore, just for people that are watching, there's only one needle, so you're not seeing if we're going up or going down. That's our new baseline, if you will, for this particular item. So just so people understand that next time you come back, that needle's going to go one way or the other.
And also, just a note in that conversation is the first two measures are not included in this equation because we didn't have data to measure them yet. And like I said, that probably will morph for just a little bit so that measure can continue, because it's important to look at those bigger projects, whether we're doing a roof for $400,000, $500,000. Those are things to watch and make sure they stay on budget and they stay on time. So that's what will happen.
More questions?
Great.
Can I ask one quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to think, if I was watching this, what would I ask? If you go back to that D23, 65%, you said it's just over 65%.
Yep.
which it says we're at vision, right?
Yep.
Some people might see that and go, well, where's the other 35%? Can you kind of explain to people where, or is that more of a Denise question? Like, am I
Well,
putting you in a weird?
think of it, a thing is transportation.
Okay,
I think that's a big one. Costs a lot of money. That's not a direct expense into the classroom.
different.
So,
Would that also be the cross-subsidy, be also included in that?
no, that wouldn't, that's going to be, the dollars that we put into special education, transportation is part of that cross-subsidy, so yes. It's just not necessarily just that. There's a lot of pieces within that cross-subsidy that are direct expenses for students and are part of that. So I think the transportation is the easiest and biggest. People can wrap their minds around that. That's not a direct expense into the classroom.
All right. Other questions?
Me.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, so I'm going to invite Tara up with her whole crew. Tara, would you mind introducing the crew for us? All right, department update, Office of Teaching and Learning. Here they are. It's almost as good as the principal.
I think they did it a little more efficiently. though,
Yeah, yeah, you
right?
did. You moved well in unison. It was less musical chairs.
Molly's nodding
Yeah.
her head. Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board. I'm here with our Department of Teaching and Learning. We have an amazing team this year, so I'd like to take a minute to introduce them. We have Disa, our Research and Assessment Coordinator, Emily, our Professional Development Coordinator, Jen, our Technology Integration Specialist, who works with our elementary schools, Carrie, our Academic Specialist, who supports Columbia Academy and the high school, and Leslie, our Personalized Learning Facilitator, who supports secondary. Our mission of all belong, all succeed. And really, as we think about teaching and learning, we do encompass all of the core values within all the work that we do. This is an informational item, so there'll be no action items following. And as we think about the Office of Teaching and Learning, there really are a lot of different components, and we all take a lot of different hats and put it on at different times, but really working as a team to follow our World's Best Workforce Plan, which is our district plan, and within that plan, all these different areas fall underneath it. So as we think about academics, as we think about technology, we think about college and career readiness, a lot of our budgets and grants we work with, a lot of our equity pieces, we collaborate with our family engagement. And so we'll go into some of these pieces as we share some updates tonight. And as I mentioned, our team, here's a picture of our team. This was from our December 23rd in-service day, which was focused on wellness. So our theme that day was to wear your fitness apparel. So we wore our fitness apparel that day and got ready to go. Many of us took different classes from cooking to exercise. So we were ready to go for that day. A lot of our team here works together to support our leadership teams in the district. That includes teacher leadership as well as our admin teams. So as we think about the teams that we lead, we really look at a learner and leader focus. And as we're doing that, we're providing learning for our admin team as well as our teacher leadership that they then bring back to their team or to their school. And all of our meetings are actually focused in on academics and equity. And here's a list of all the teams we have in the district. There are quite a few, which actually gives a lot of opportunities for our teachers. It gives an opportunity for our teachers to have leadership, as well as to have a say in the different pieces that we have, including curriculum, professional development, technology. So they really have a piece, they own different pieces of it. And we have a lot of teachers on there. It's exciting. Every year we send out a survey, and how many teachers are excited about joining the different teams. So each of us will take a minute and share about the different areas that we focus in on in teaching and learning. And for mine is really that curriculum and instruction. And we really focus in on the MDE standards, so the Minnesota Department of Education standards. So some updates around that. The new PE and art standards we're continuing to implement using our curriculum cycle. Science is brand new, and so we have begun implementing and working with our science teams on that and looking at how we are using the resources we have as well as how we're changing our instruction to support the new standards. Our new English language art standards will be coming out soon, so we're excited to work with our pre-K all the way up to 12th grade teachers as we look at our English language art standards that we currently have and how the changes have come about and the resources that we may need or instructional support to support those. We also have a huge focus on PLCs, and I'm not going to go into it tonight as we had a whole presentation prior, probably about a month ago about PLCs, but everything we do, we really do connect back to PLCs and ensuring learning for each and every student. Another big area for me is the budgets and grants, so working with the different title grants, or as Brian mentioned earlier, looking at those classroom instruction focused budget areas. We have a lot of those in teaching and learning to support the instructional resources our students need and our teachers need. So I'm going to pass it over to Disa to share about gifted and talented.
Good evening, Chair Severson and members of the board. Talking about gifted and talented, we do universal screening, and we've talked about this in the past at 2nd and 5th grade, which is cognitively when research says they're best prepared to do that. We're looking a lot at PD, so collaborating as a team and ensuring that our instructors know how to teach gifted and talented students, not just accelerate the pacing of curriculum, but really changing the way that they're presenting the material to the students who are identified so that the equity lens is there. And we're doing that for all of our K-12 staff. And then I just always like to include this. From last year alone, our AP students taking tests would receive over $200,000 of U of M credits this year, which is staggering and exciting. And when we show our high school students, they see, you know, doing all of this hard work does equate to not only learning, but saving money. So we always like to tell them that. And then on the assessment and data aspect of this, really looking at our screening data, Tara talked about PLC work. What are our students telling us? The data is telling us something. How are we using it? And we're using that fall, winter, and spring, so we're right in the middle of that. And our teachers are raring to go looking at that information. We have a lot of targeted intervention supports, both K-12, both in math and reading. And then, of course, our PSAT. We are using that information at the high school level, so we're offering the PSAT at several grade levels this year. And we're really following students with Khan Academy to support their career and college readiness. And I know we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
All right, good evening, Chair Severson and members of the board. So I'll be telling you a little bit about our professional development. We know that our teachers are really our greatest resource, and so developing them and continuing their professional growth is always a priority for us. We have several district in-service days throughout the year. Our November 5th district in-service day was focused on academics and PLCs. We had a keynote speaker, Dr. Jim Rickabaugh, whose work has also been the focus of several book studies throughout the year. Our December 23rd in-service day, as Tara mentioned, was focused on health and wellness. We had Daniel Tice, who's a trauma expert, trauma-informed practices expert, present to all of our licensed staff, as well as our Adventure Club and Mini Adventure Club staff. And then we also had some really fun wellness sessions that day, including fitness sessions and cooking sessions. And Director Stenvik and Director Stunkel actually taught 2 of the cooking sessions. And Director Hennekins learned how to make tortillas that day, so it was a fun day. Our January 20th upcoming district in-service day next Monday will have a focus on equity. Dr. Mohammed Khalifa, who's an author and University of Minnesota professor whose work focuses on culturally responsive practices, will be presenting to our staff, as well as Jit Kundan, who's the executive director of the Origins program, and he'll be presenting on trauma and culturally responsive teaching. So in addition to our big district in-service days, we also have professional development that happens throughout the year. So those leadership teams that Tara mentioned, ongoing support for school-based PD that might happen at staff meetings or through the PLC collaborative teams, and then ongoing professional learning opportunities for staff throughout the year. So whether that's finding external opportunities for them to attend or providing those opportunities ourselves. And then in addition, we also want to really focus on our new teacher support. We have an amazing cohort of new teachers this year, and so developing and retaining them is a big priority. Our Scaling the Heights new teacher induction is always a fun kickoff for the year, but we also want to focus on how we support them throughout their first year and beyond. So all new teachers are matched with a mentor teacher. They meet with that mentor at least once a month. Mentors are provided with resources throughout the year to share with their mentee, and we really hope that that's something that will help them throughout that entire first year. In addition, our team checks in at least quarterly with all new teachers, and usually more often, and we actually have a big board in our office with photos of all the new teachers, and we each put a sticker up there when we've checked in with them so we can kind of see at a glance who's been checking in with our new staff. All right, Avid, our Avid programming is something that we're really proud of. We are Avid district-wide. We support Avid, the teaching and learning team, through quarterly check-ins with our elementary teams, and then also monthly secondary site team meetings at CA and the high school. The Avid elective is available to students in grades 7 through 12, but in addition to the Avid elective, all Avid secondary teachers are using Avid strategies. We have Avid tutors available in the Avid elective, and then our Avid coordinators, Amanda Jones and Erin Edwardson Stern, do a lot of work with supporting teachers implementing Avid in secondary. We have several Avid vertical meetings throughout the year where pre-K all the way through 12, teachers are sharing Avid strategies and working on vertical alignment of those strategies, and then we have a lot of Avid learning opportunities for staff throughout the year. And then equity and family engagement is also under teaching and learning. We have an equity and family engagement leadership team that meets quarterly, and their focus this year is family voices and experiences in Columbia Heights. The work of that team this year has really focused on revising the guiding documents that were created a few years ago. Our family engagement efforts are also supporting school buildings with their family engagement events and activities. So we support them with resources and then also the guiding documents. And then all of our professional development, as Tara mentioned, is focused either on academics and or equity. And so those are some of our equity-focused professional development opportunities this year. I believe I passed it to Carrie.
Good evening, Chair Severson and members of the board. So I'm really been looking at this year the pieces of our college going culture. What programming do we have in place and where do they lie? So you can see we have pre-AP curriculum for all 9th graders, AP available for grades 10, 11, and 12, the PSAT testing, like Disa mentioned, the SAT for 11th and then 12th, some 12th graders, the national merit testing, Khan Academy, really focusing on enrolling all of the PSAT and SAT testers from grades 8 and then carrying that through 12th grade if they're testing again. Looking at ramping up college visits at the high school this year. So already this winter we've had multiple colleges in the high school, giving students the opportunity to visit those college reps and learn more about the different colleges, and looking at both 4-year and 2-year colleges coming in for our students to make sure all their needs are met. And then Naviance and ramp up through advisories, so students are getting the pieces they need to ensure they're ready for college as far as applications, choosing colleges that are correct for them. And then our current AP enrollment, you can see for 10th grade, we have 24% of 10th graders in the AP class. That jumps up to 38% in 11th grade and then maintains about the same 35% in the 12th grade. And then this graph shows us the number of students each year. So we're trending up, not only number of students, but the tests taken. So you can see every year we're with our open access, where our numbers are going up and trending in the upward direction. So.
I think it's on. Yeah. It's on, she said.
I can hear it.
Oh, you can use that thing.
We're gonna use this one. We're going to use this one. It's too complicated. Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board. I'm very excited to spend the next couple of minutes sharing a little bit about where we're at with our personalized learning work here in Columbia Heights. The words personalized learning have been part of our work in Columbia Heights Public Schools for several years, and while the vocabulary of personalized learning is not new, our understanding of those words has continued to grow and evolve along the way. Currently, in the 2019-2020 school year, we're in a season of a lot of professional learning. And what that means for us is that we're leading book studies, we're having conversations with both teachers and district leaders, we're participating in large-scale professional development and small group discussion. Emily mentioned bringing out Dr. Jim Rickabaugh, who's a thought leader in personalized learning. We're having a lot of conversations with our faculty and leaders around personalized learning. All of this work is currently focused on clarifying and calibrating our language so that when we talk about personalized learning, we're all talking about the same thing. We're also trying to draw really, really clear connections to show how personalized learning both aligns to and supports the big work that our district does. How does it support our equity work? How does it support the academic work that's already happening? And how does it support our students to ultimately become college and career ready? So, as we do this, our biggest focus right now is to make it concrete. We want to show how those connections are really clear between personalized learning and what's already happening. And we want to show how personalized learning is showing up alongside rather than in addition to other big priorities that are going on. Along with that, I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Jen Hausworth, who's going to talk about technology integration.
Good evening, Chair Severson and members of the board. Much of the work that Leslie and I do on our technology integration team is to support the instruction of our teachers and to build their capacity to integrate technology into their daily teaching practices as well as for student learning. Last year, we launched a group of teacher leaders who showed interest in experimenting with some models of blended learning in their classroom. And what blended learning is, it combines the online learning experiences with the more traditional non-digital learning activities. And we've termed these innovative teachers pioneers because they're willing to take some risks and try some new things and embrace their failures as as opportunities to learn and grow. To support our pioneers, we meet with them as a collaborative group with the other pioneers throughout the year. And in addition, we provide one-to-one coaching in their classrooms every month. This year, we're continuing our work with this original pioneer group from last year, and we're helping them go deeper into their work with blended learning. We've also added a brand newbie group of pioneer teachers who are starting their own journey for blended learning. We also continue to support our staff with device rollout at the beginning of the year in our one-to-one classrooms. This year, we've added one-to-one devices in third grade, and that rollout was extremely seamless. I didn't get any calls for support on that. That's a credit to all of the experiences our students have had in K-2 in using technology to enhance their learning. Then after the fall rollout, then we provide year-round support and training both in and out of the classroom to develop teachers' instructional and technology skills to leverage these one-to-one devices and the learning platforms such as Schoology, Google Classroom, and Seesaw. We really want to use these for more personalized learning experiences for our students. Some of the support is in the form of technical troubleshooting. We get those harried calls to put out fires right away. Account management, decluttering, email and storage spaces, developing online classroom spaces, and creating learning activities that give their students more voice and choice. One of those platforms that I mentioned before is Seesaw, and that is for our pre-K through 8th grade students. It's a family communication and student portfolio tool platform. It was implemented last year, and the teachers really worked on the first year as getting comfortable with the platform, getting messages sent out and photos sent out, and getting as many parents connected as possible. This year, we're taking it to the next level by supporting teachers, by helping them see the value in taking full opportunity of all the creative features of the Seesaw platform from the student experience, from the student side of things. And using that to really showcase student learning and sharing that with their families so that they can see what they are doing every day in school. We've had a lot of great engagement with Seesaw with families, and some ways they show that is through liking the posts on their, liking posts, making comments. They really enjoyed, especially seeing the artifacts of their child's work, and particularly when they record themselves via video and telling about the work that they completed.
We have an amazing team doing a lot of work. Oh, you have one more thing?
No, we don't.
No, you're good. We truly have an amazing teaching and learning team this year who have been working really hard, working with all of our teachers and students and families, and working on many different things. So we're excited to share with you tonight. Any questions that you have for any of us?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I actually was just talking to a parent last night and just looking, I know that Avid is like school-wide and there's a lot of strategies being used, which I love. But how do you target, like who are the targeted students for the elective? Can you
Yes.
clarify that?
Definitely. Avid is really targeted towards the middle. So when we look at students who are on the lower end in terms of proficiency, who are not achieving at proficiency in terms of their grades or state tests, they are receiving a lot of interventions and supports in our schools already. Students who are at the higher end, who are gifted, are also receiving a lot of supports. So targeted for Avid are those middle students. So we really do look at the whole school and divide it up by the middle, and by looking at grades, proficiency, also by teacher recommendation. So teachers might say, you know what, these students might do really well in Avid and be able to take more challenging classes. Because one requirement for Avid is that we try to have students take a more rigorous course that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to. So having a student in the high school taking an AP course, and then also having Avid, so that our Avid teacher and our tutors can support them with it.
Thank you. I have one other question.
Yes.
And we talked a lot about the AP enrollment at the high school. Will we start talking about ARCC classes also being kind of credited in the same realm?
Yes, we
Okay.
will. Yeah.
All right.
We'll be giving later on in the year an update on that as well, but really looking at our early college as counting towards, as Disa
Right.
shared, actually earning college credit and money
Yeah.
as well that way. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, or more of a comment. Emily, I wanted to say Emily, right?
Yes.
Thank you, because I know we had our teachers in on that December 23rd, and I don't actually normally hear a lot about their PD, but I did hear from several teachers that they actually really liked it. So I thought, oh, that's pretty great, given it was an odd day to go to work. So thank you. That's really all I had to say. And I'm thinking about having a fitness apparel board night. So I think that would work. Can we get away with that?
Leslie at the end is a yoga instructor. We could do that prior to the board meeting.
Does anyone else have any actual questions? Not fitness-related questions? Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for all you do. It's nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Welcome, Jen. All right, let's welcome up Superintendent Burkus for the Building Vision Card.
Principal.
of Columbia. Pardon me?
You were reading,
Did I superintendent? I said
you were
superintendent.
reading superintendent.
Oh, sorry, Principal Burkus, sorry. Yeah, I got a ways to go to catch up with John. Well, we'll call you a principal since that's your actual job.
Thank you, I'll take that.
Let's hear that vision card. Enough about me.
Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board. I'm here with Principal Burkus from Columbia Academy to share the vision card or the strategic roadmap for Columbia Academy. Our mission of creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, and all belong, all succeed. And really encompassing all the values throughout Columbia Academy. This is an informational update, so no governance question tonight. And a reminder about our new strategic roadmap, and Principal Burkus will really be focusing in on strategic directions A through D as they apply to Columbia Academy.
Thank you, Director Tuckrell. Chair Severson, members of the board, pleased to be here to talk about Columbia Academy. I'll go through our scorecard for the previous school year and then talk about our goals for this school year and some of the things that we're doing to meet those goals. As you can see from the board, this first one talks about the mental health and wellness, and I too want to salute our teaching and learning team for a great staff development day, but also just their ongoing work with us in this area for staff and for students as well. We do have more and more teachers, I think, that are participating in health and wellness and taking an interest in their own. Hopefully, this year we will have a little less of the flu bug. We had 2 rounds of it that were pretty severe last year, and I think this year we have been healthier, so I'm hoping that this will result in fewer absences for personal illness. As well, for student attendance, it can play a role. This past year we did work on indicating to parents that every day counts, that attendance matters, and that's something that we continue to push with our parents to make sure that if students are missing from school, notifying parents, talking to them about the importance of being there each and every day. The mental health screener is something that we have to take very seriously at any level, but especially I think in middle school. There is a lot that kids are trying to figure out. We have 2 full-time social workers along with the school psychologist. Along with our admin team, we work very closely together to make sure that we try to reach each and every student that we know could use some help. On top of that, we have a therapist that is in-house 3 days a week, actually 2 of them now that come from Lee Carlson, and then of course we have our anchor program as well. So we work very hard to address the mental health of our students. The session that we all took on trauma this past on the 23rd of December was excellent. It's something that has resonated strongly with our staff. I know with our admin team, we had a chance to talk with, to hear her at the beginning of the school year as well. So I believe this is something that is really starting to impact the way we work with our students. We do value school climate. We feel that the culture of the building is really probably the most important thing that we can work on. We're pleased to see that our students are, by and large, satisfied with what they feel is the culture of our building, the climate of our building. Obviously, behavior is a big part of that, and when it comes to out-of-school or in-school suspensions, kind of our biggest tool of discipline, our most severe one that we would usually use, something that we're hoping can continue to decrease. But at this time, I think, again, working with the district on some important things that we can implement to do that, while still making sure that all students' families know that we value safety. We value having a school that where we don't have a lot of disruption to learning, and that we maintain that consistently across our building. We do have a lot going on when it comes to technology, being a one-to-one school. We have Schoology, which we use throughout the building. We don't use Moodle, but a lot of our teachers are using Google Classroom as well, and that is a big part of our everyday life of our students. Khan Academy is something that with PSAT we're able to get basically a map of where they should go in working within Khan Academy. So our math teachers have been the ones in 8th grade primarily responsible for that. We plan to do that again this year, as we did last year, where students get that score on their PSAT, and from that they can plug directly into Khan Academy for some online learning. PSAT is something we began giving last year. We gave it again this year. We do still have ways to go when we look at those scores in terms of making sure that all of our students are on that college readiness pathway. We also, though, know that with that, we do need to give support. And so I think when it comes to supporting our students to get to that level, I do believe we try to reach each and every one of us students in our building to provide that extra support. The PSAT, as far as who takes it, we give it in our regular social studies classrooms. So 100% of our students that qualify to take the PSAT. There's a few students that don't. But by and large, our school, all of our 8th graders, by and large, will take the PSAT. We also give something called the FAST, which is a way for us to measure growth, which is difficult to do with the MCAs now, but and we do see that a lot of our students, most of our students, more than 50%, are meeting their growth targets. That's something that we value very much. No matter where you start, we want you to meet those growth targets. Student view is something that I think is perhaps used less than it is at the high school, but something that more and more our students are discovering. Yes, I can look in here and find my grades, and I can look at them. We do hand them out every week, though, as well, hard copies of those with their missing assignments, so we try to provide that one way or the other to them and to their parents. We believe that one reason we don't have a higher percentage of this with parents is probably just the fact that they are in middle school and maybe they're not checking it quite as much at this point in time. But again, we do send home a weekly report on grades and missing assignments. And so that goes home with students from their STAR teacher. This year, we also have been having teachers email a curriculum update for where they are at, either if their classes are every day, like math, then they would send out that email every week. If it's every other day, they send it out every other week. Communication to families, we continue, I continue as a principal to send out an email and a phone call weekly to parents to try and stay connected that way. Seesaw is something that I think has proven to be a little bit more difficult for us to see implemented across all content areas where we don't have a classroom teacher that has students for the entire day. It seems to fit quite well with some of our classrooms as in the arts or theater where the teachers I think feel like they have more that they like to show in that kind of media. So in terms of having video and those things, it's something I do believe that as well for each classroom, teachers have to have parents sign in. So it's not a one-time sign in for all of your students' classes. You have to sign in individually for each class. So it becomes a little bit more cumbersome for parents, and I think it's got a foothold, I think, in our arts program, but not as much in the rest of the school at this point. We do have a lot of events, though, that are going on a weekly basis. We have, it's a busy place, and so I do think that there is a lot that we do as a building to promote the celebration of academics at our school. Again, Seesaw perhaps not as much as the others. We do have, I feel like, a pretty strong response from our parents. It is an age, I think, where you don't have the, perhaps some of the excitement of an elementary school or the prospect of college at the end. So we try to keep our parents engaged as much as possible. Our estimate is that mandatory forms around 70 to 80%. Common planning time is something that is harder to create in a master schedule when you have lots and lots of different courses. We do have common planning time now for most of our classes. Our core teachers all have common planning time. We also have that for some of our other departments as well. It's not 100% yet, but you can see that it is quite high and that our teachers value this a lot. That is something that they will use and I know would miss very much if they didn't have it. So I salute the assistant principal Osby for that. It's quite a puzzle to make that happen, and he does. The percentage of teachers daily using on grade level curriculum, That's something that we've emphasized, that we want our teachers to provide rigorous curriculum, and by that we mean that it's grade level and above, that we do not lower our expectations for students. And so teaching to standard, as Director Tuckrell said, that is what teaching and learning helps us with, and that is what we expect of our teachers. Fiscal responsibility, we've been able to remain on budget, and I think all has been well there. So as far as this year goes, we have had a semester now, basically, to work on this, but we have a 5% increase in the number of students proficient on the MCA math. That is our goal for this year. And as you can see, we are doing quite a bit to try to make that happen. One, in an every other day schedule, we have implemented math every day. So it's what we would call a Tier 1 intervention, where we have doubled the amount of time for math from what the schedule would normally say. In addition, we have intervention classes in 2 of our 3 grade levels. In this past month, we started something new where our advisories, for our math teachers' advisories became another spot where they could bring in students who needed additional help with getting their homework done. We have a lot of students who seem to do okay in math, but getting help with homework, many of them don't stay after school. So we gave them this opportunity, math teachers, to identify 20 of their students, and we redid who is the rosters for these math teachers. And so in their advisory now, they have students who then they can also help to complete their math homework. And so it's going well, we believe, and it's another way then to make sure that students aren't lost when they go home with that homework. We have special ed cluster classrooms, co-taught. We have a spring math, which is a research-based intervention that we use with all grades. We are using our growth and diagnostic assessments, and then, of course, thanks to teaching and learning for being able to use the MobiMax and also our Dreambox. Thank you, I was missing that one. So 5% increase in the number of students proficient on the MCA reading as well. And in this case, we are expecting all of our teachers to teach reading, all of our teachers to have high literacy expectations, that they teach through literacy, not just through telling or lecturing to students. We have 2 literacy coaches who help us do that. Again, growth and diagnostic assessments, intervention classes for those struggling readers in all grades, and just working now with Director Tuckrell on a new pilot intervention program through the University of Minnesota. We just were trained in it last week. They're coming to visit us next week, and we're very excited to be using that and working on that with the University of Minnesota. Finally, our final goal for this year was a behavior referrals decreased by 15%. So what are we doing, again, in this very important area of the culture of our building? Consistent expectations, and I should say high expectations across classrooms, building relationships, really valuing that relationship is probably the most powerful thing that we can do with our kids. Offering recess so the kids can move a little bit in the middle of the day. An adult presence in our hallways, in our cafeteria, wherever it is, working closely with parents on this, and then matching the level of support to individual student needs. Not all students need the same amount of attention when it comes to behavior. How can we make sure that we're giving them what they need? And then weekly town hall meetings with each grade level to talk about our expectations. So that's what we're doing. I think sometimes it's fun to just take a week. This was last week. If you start down that bottom corner with the kids holding up their certificates, that was our Geography B. Started with 750 kids taking it, got down to the 13, I believe it was, finalists, and we had them compete in front of a crowd, and I salute our 8th grader, Roger Rogny, there on, let's see, he's on the left as you look. With the glasses, he is 3-time winner, 3 years in a row, Columbia Academy Geography B winner. That was followed by the next night. We had our choir concert in the cafeteria, and we had a nice crowd there for that. followed by on Friday, our band and choir visited all 3 elementaries. We did a musical tour to all 3 elementaries. They were well received, packed gyms in all cases. And then on Saturday, the entire day, a 12-hour day for that tired-looking robotics team that went and competed, won first place and are on their way to the state tournament. So that was last week. So a busy place, lots of good things going on.
Any questions?
Any questions? Oh, Laura, go ahead, yeah.
I just have one. The intervention program with the the pilot intervention program with the UMN, U of N. I can't talk today. Could you explain a little bit how this is different since it is a pilot and it's not a strategy that was being used before?
We currently implement PRESS, which is our reading intervention at the elementary schools. And Principal Burkus and I have really been focusing in and looking on what do they have for secondary. There are not many intervention programs to support secondary that are research-based. So we had a conversation with the University of Minnesota and talked to them. And they have been working on the middle school version of PRESS. They've only worked with one other school district, and they're only in pilot mode, which means that they're trying it out in a couple classes with a couple of teachers. They'll really analyze the instruction and the results to determine if we can expand it or if changes need to be made before we decide to fully implement. So we're excited that they chose us to partner with to really pilot their middle school PRESS program.
Is that going to be offered in all grade levels?
Currently, we're offering it in a couple grade levels, in 6th grade and 7th grade, with only a couple of teachers. They really wanted to focus this first cycle in on a couple teachers to see how it does with the students before we expand it out. So our goal would be to find an intervention that would support each and every grade, but right now we're focusing in small to ensure that we see the results we need.
Okay. Thank you.
It was interesting to hear the explanation for the seesaw, because I was actually going to ask that question, like, oh, seems like low number, but then when you say, you're potentially logging in up to 8 different teachers, that is cumbersome. Do you have other communication tools for parents that exist outside of that, between teachers and parents or teachers and families outside of that tool?
I think the big one that teachers have been using this year is this email blast that we do for curriculum is new, and so we use that. I think we do have a commitment that's been going on for several years now where we do send home every Tuesday or the first or second day of the week, we will send home that grade report. That does go home, though, in the student's binder, so we know that does not always get there. So then, so there is that as well. But as far as other communication, I suppose the other would be coming from me on a weekly basis on the email and phone call. Those would be our main ways of doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know for me as a parent, we get all my kids are at the high school now, so I get 3 times 8 email blasts. So I know a lot of what's happening on in the high school.
And you have
right
it all
now.
straight, right?
I do have to kind of which kid is in physics? So I appreciate the email blast from parents. So using them, I think, more often as a parent than some of the other tools maybe. So other questions?
I just want to make a comment about when you talked about restructuring your advisories with the math students. Mr. Burkus, I just really appreciate all of the different things that you do and the constant changing and adapting to our students. So thank you. I really like that you're doing that idea. For making that happen.
Thank you. But that idea came from the math department. They said, we'd like to try this, and I thought, what a great idea. And to have it come from them and say, we want to take
That's
this
awesome.
on. So, yeah.
Well, thank them too.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
I know the recess thing was kind of in maybe a pilot mode last year. It must have felt successful then that you're carrying it on this year.
Yeah, most days. Some days I wonder, but I'm in the recess room every day, so I monitor recess. But I do think it's a good thing for our kids. It allows them to move, and it's been interesting this year. Our 7th and 8th graders came in knowing what the expectations are, and they slipped right into that. Our 6th graders had to learn, and it was, we realized how much work that can be. But now looking at where they are halfway through the school year compared to how they were at the start of the school year. They've found that, okay, this is how it works. And so we're able to go in there and by and large have drama-free recess with lots of movement. And so I do think it's a good thing for them in the middle of the day. Yeah.
Other question?
Okay.
All right, thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
All right, that looks like that's it for informational items. That brings us to board topics. Anyone have board topics?
Just a friendly reminder that January 25th is the Fire and Ice Plunge, which is a fundraiser for SECA. It's kind of a big deal. It's growing every year. I believe it starts at 11. Do you have the times?
I coach. I think there's a large window of time in which you can jump into a
Pretty much all
frozen
day
lake.
long. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
We're at a tournament.
Yeah.
Yep, plenty of time.
Yeah.
See.
But anyway, it's okay. It's not fun if you jump, but it's for a good cause. So, if I tell you it's fun and then you do it,
Chicken.
No,
not
it's
fun. It's chilly.
chilly and
Noon
it's
to 3.
maybe a little bit heart-stopping,
Yeah.
but it restarts, is what I learned.
you
So, yeah.
What are you doing, coaching? I'll come and take your kids for the half hour it takes you to run to Silver Lake and jump.
And you'll be
good.
happy to coach afterwards
Yeah.
because that'll warm you back up.
Right.
So, anyway,
Molly's
come
on.
check it out.
Colin's over
Ongoing.
there going, don't tell the kids.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Anyway, it's there. It's
I'll
fun.
support everyone that is jumping, though. Just let that be known.
You can go watch and cheer people on. It's kind of fun. There's a crowd when you jump.
Maybe
so.
you can FaceTime me from there.
All right.
Is-
I'm sure I'm going to jump in a lake holding my phone. That seems smart.
Okay, I'm after.
If I could just build on that really quick. It says here, good food, beverages, lots of entertainment. It's a cooperative event between the Boosters, the Lions, the Fire Department, SECA, and the City of Columbia Heights. So it's
is
actually
awesome. I
really
love
fun to
that.
watch everybody come together and put this event out there for people, so.
Cool.
You guys should come jump. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
Teaching and learning, biggest department jump.
Okay.
I'll record you for a coffee.
All
All right, enough's enough.
That's all
To
I have.
protect
Any other-
your phone, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Any other topics coming up?
I guess just one other thing too is that, of course, we've got the school board leadership conference this weekend, so
Yep.
I'm hoping we can get some good learning done there and see-
All right.
that's it.
All right, hearing nothing else, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:13.